Hello. Red Bank Historical Preservation Commission.
Oops, sorry.
Will hold a regular meeting on Wednesday, October 15th, 2025 at 7 p.m. at 90 Monmouth Street, Red Bank, New Jersey. Adequate notice of this meeting has been posted at Borough Hall, filed with Borough Clerk, and provided to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times. The commission has maintained a policy cutoff hour of 8:30 p.m. for its hearings. Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now we may proceed with a roll call.
Lois Almarini,
Present.
Marjorie Cavalier absent, Liam Collins absent, Paul Daniel,
Here.
Karen Schmelskoff here, Anthony Sotero
Here.
and Betsy Valera.
Thank you. If it's okay, I think I'm going to hold all public comments till the end, and I'll go straight to administrative matters. Can we?
Yes, Michelle's on.
Michelle's on. Okay. Hello, Michelle.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. We have to my right, Michael White, who is joining us as the newest member of the HPC, and we would like to proceed with the oath of office. Michelle.
Yes, Mr. White, would you please raise your right hand? And please say I and then state your name.
I, Michael White,
Oh, press
Do
the button.
solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform
and that I will, say it again.
faithfully,
I will faithfully
impartially, and justly
and justly perform
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
as a member of the Red Bank Historic Preservation Commission.
one more time.
As a member of the Red Bank
Of the
Historic
Red Bank
Preservation
Preservation
Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And now we'll move to the meeting minutes, approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Anyone want to move for approval? Or are there any questions or comments on those minutes before we do that?
I was not present, so I can't approve anything.
Nor was I.
I can prove it. And we need a second.
Second. Thank you, Karen.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we have
Those who were present and voted.
Karen Schmelskoff. Okay. Anthony Sotero.
Yes.
And Betsy Valera. Yes. Thanks.
Thank you. And now we'll move to the reports of the committees, starting with the Minor Works Committee.
The Minor Works Committee over emailed, reviewed, I believe it was 3 applications. One was for signage for 7 Broad Street. Then we had a siding for 37 Washington Street, which was just a paint. And then for 3 East Front And that was for signage also, and all of those were approved by the Minor Works Committee. That's it.
Great.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that was it.
That was it. Okay, very good. Thank you. Moving to the River Center. Karen?
Nothing new that I know. of. I suspect there's a lot new, but I'm not hearing of it. So
Oh,
would
okay.
you? Okay.
So Karen, were you not looped into the meeting that River Center had with Stephen?
It's probably something worth talking about.
Do you feel like you should have been and you were purposely left off of that?
Oh, I
You are
don't,
the River Center liaison, right?
I am, but I'm not gonna figure out like what's going on. I think Marion's trying to figure out what she's doing and dealing with a lot of input. So, unless Shauna feels otherwise, I'll talk to Marion and ask what she sees in terms of this liaison. Because I think she's got an awful lot of things coming at her. That's it. And also pushing things out there too. So
Which is why I think you should be there.
absolutely. No,
Karen should be everywhere.
I should be every place.
Okay. And moving to the third report, which would be the Historical Sites Designation and Design Guidelines Committee. Karen, were you gonna?
That's me. Yes.
If you could just turn on your mic, Karen.
Sure.
Glad I didn't turn it on before. Is Stephen coming tonight?
Yeah, Stephen is on Zoom, so
Hi,
I
Stephen.
guess you can just speak to the architectural survey. Maybe.
I think Stephen's gonna speak to that. What I would want to talk about is that Marge and I met with Stephen last week. It's a small group and we were concerned that small things don't have to go back to the HPC again, that little tiny things that are going to be done. That was one of our concerns, not to keep coming back. We did talk about a new cover that we wanted to keep red for both the survey and guidelines, but make the cover different. Okay, is that, Stephen, are you there?
We can't hear you, Stephen.
Just say I'm right. Anyway, we talked about that, yeah. Is that-
You, Stephen, his lips are moving, yeah, his lips are moving, but he's not.
Oh,
I think something's wrong with audio. Still can't hear you. So 1 second.
Double mute somewhere.
Yeah.
It's waiting on him.
We did-
I fixed
Oh,
it.
there you
There
are.
it is.
Yeah.
There's this silly mute button on my laptop. You can all hear me now, right?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, the design guidelines and survey committee met a week or two ago. And the primary focus of that meeting was the architectural survey, which I can provide maybe a little bit more of an update on in a moment. But I think the primary item before you all tonight is the final draft of the design guidelines from October 1st. That's a 94-page PDF document, and that October 1st draft incorporates the feedback that I received from you all when I was last down there. I got some additional follow-up specific comments from the chair. Those were incorporated to the greatest extent possible. And I think where we're at right now is essentially looking for the HPC to approve or accept that document so that it can continue working its way through the adoption process toward your town council and then become a document that you all can use in the coming meetings. There was a meeting in, I believe it was late August or early September, that we spoke about setting up as a committee that was between me, John, Jay, and Maren at the River Center. And they wanted to walk through essentially the storefronts and signage in greater detail. Maren had been keeping them in the loop. We appreciate, I think, the River Center's feedback representing the business
Mhm.
community, a major recipient and stakeholder in these design guidelines. And what they requested recently, I think Sean has provided you all with, was a couple sentences to be added to the design guidelines. And I think that's ultimately up to the HPC tonight to consider, and I can add that in or not.
Stephen, hi, it's Paul Cagno. And just as more of a comment to the board, I didn't realize that we were voting on the design guidelines, if that's what we intended on doing, because I haven't, I would have liked to have, quite frankly, had the opportunity to read it again a little more thoroughly. And, it's not on the agenda to vote for this, so
Oh, sorry,
I don't-
it was,
I plan on voting for it unless I can read it fully.
so at the last meeting, it was discussed that this meeting it would be voted on. Unfortunately, you weren't there.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I won't be able to vote for it. I would suggest, I don't know if my vote's gonna make a difference. Likely I would vote for it. I do have some concerns that we can talk about. But all I'm saying is I can't ethically vote for something if I haven't read it. So if I'm not prepared to vote for it, I'm not gonna vote for it. So if we can push it, I don't know if there is another meeting forthcoming or everyone was expecting to vote on this, but I simply wasn't. So that's my concern there. And I guess,
We're in any rush to, I don't
We're
want
missing two people as well.
I don't think we're in any rush to vote on it. There's not like a timeline grant wise,
okay.
so just
All right.
a.
I just would like to take another closer final look at it. But the other thing I would comment on some of the emails that Stephen, you and I guess with regard to the conversation from the River Center, but the language, I don't know the context of what the language is referring, because I haven't looked at these pages, but I know that I brought up the last time when we were talking about the guidelines being a little too, perhaps not as flexible for some of the homeowners when it came to using certain materials on their homes. We talked about having to replace with wood, or can we allow the hardy back that looks like wood? And there was some hesitation to that. And I don't know if that was further discussed at the last meeting or not, but it seems that the River Center is basically saying the same thing, except they're describing it more as an economic viability and a breathing, the guidelines should be a breathing document, et cetera, which now I'm not necessarily opposed. I think Liam brings some very good points, and we can read his points into the record. But, and I agree with all of them. We can't simply, in my opinion, have some type of loophole, which I think is what it is, strictly for the business owners, but somehow hold the residents in these few blocks to some higher guideline. I think that's, quite frankly, an absurdity to me. So that's my initial comment. I'm curious to see what everyone else thinks. But if at all, we're going to have some wiggle room, which I think there probably should be, personally. It's got to apply equally to commercial owners and residential owners. It can't be one way out for the commercial, but not for the residents.
Speaking for this small group, we've gone through this quite a bit. I think that the guidelines we're looking for are both the business and home residential. I don't think we're making a distinction between this being difficult and this not being difficult. The same, there's perhaps different design issues involved, but we've kind of across the board had the same attitude about both of them. Am I right, Stephen? I don't want to speak out of turn.
Yeah, it's really page 25 of the draft in front of you that I kind of emphasized more based on the comments I received from this group a month or two ago. So there's a section there related to materials now, and then the checklist to the right from the Secretary of the Interior about when substitute materials like hardy plank and fiberglass, etc., are appropriate. And the quick take on it is they're appropriate in a lot of instances. And I think these design guidelines throughout, not just for storefronts and signage, but for things like residential windows and roofing, provide for a very wide degree of latitude in choosing materials that meet the HPC's aesthetic and also the property owner's budget.
At our last meeting, Paul, we actually approved somebody to use hardy plank. The request that I had that they were fine with was in their design that they showed us, they were vertical. And there's no siding historically that's vertical. So all we asked was if they minded changing it to horizontal, but we were okay with the hardy and that's what we approved. And
Yeah.
so I think we are flexible to that point, but I do see this additional couple sentences to be a big like a but or a however after you explain something, and everything that you just said before could be erased. And I agree that that's kind of what it feels like.
And I think that's what it is. I think there's such concern in going through this before, but the Hardy Board is our friend. It's been accepted within the
Totally.
group easily. Given that, like Paul said, we're going to go through this. I think maybe we do want to spend some more time on Liam's suggestions here.
I guess we should read them into the record,
Yeah.
possible, who knows, somebody wants to do that? Or you want me to do it?
I'll do it if someone wants to. The whole thing or just the 1, 2, 3, 4?
I guess the whole thing.
Should we read the proposed language first,
Mhm.
just for
Context.
Yeah. Go there. So,
I could read that if you want.
So
The language that the River Center has given
I
us,
guess you should read this first, and it's supposed to be within these pages. This is just for inclusion into those pages.
okay. So I'm about to read language. This is the intro to that. From the River Center, as discussed just now, see attached text requested by the River Center for inclusion on either page 58, 71, or 83 of the design guidelines. I believe, and this is
Yeah,
from Stephen.
yeah.
I believe the intent of this text, except economic viable and market demands, is already incorporated throughout, but I'm glad to include verbatim if the HPC is amenable. The text at issue is as follows. Notwithstanding the foregoing, we recognize that a downtown business community is a living, breathing organism which must change from time to time in order to continue to be economically viable and to allow business owners and businesses operating in those buildings to keep up with changing markets' demands.
So that's the statement.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Liam's comments.
I can read those. Liam's comments. I appreciate the River Center's interest in supporting economic vitality alongside our historic preservation efforts. However, I have significant concerns that introducing terms like economic viability and market demands into our guidelines could unintentionally create a loophole that weakens our ability to protect the historic character of Red Bank. To ensure these guidelines truly serve our community's heritage, I propose that there are 4 points. Point 1, we clearly define economic viability and market demands within the guidelines to prevent vague interpretations that could justify harmful alterations or demolitions. 2, preservation of architectural and historic integrity remains our primary priority. Economic factors should only be considered in ways that support, not override, this priority. 3, any proposals citing economic reasons for deviating from preservation standards must be thoroughly reviewed with documented evidence demonstrating that strict adherence to preservation guidelines is financially unfeasible. 4, there should be transparent processes and opportunities for public input where economic considerations are invoked to modify preservation requirements. And then he closes with, by implementing these safeguards, we can strike a careful balance between preserving Red Bank's unique historical identity and supporting sustainable economic use of our properties without compromising the standards that make our town.
No, I mean, quite frankly, it's more of a comment than anything. I don't really understand. It's ambiguous somewhat. I mean, I think it's superfluous. I mean, the document that, the guidelines, the last draft that I read was inclusive enough. It just almost sounds like it's a little extra for me. I'm not sure it's necessary. I think if anything, I don't think it even puts a burden on us necessarily, but I guess technically it could be interpreted as some type of ability to challenge a decision.
Are you talking about the River Center?
Yeah.
comment? Oh, yeah, okay.
But I guess from a legal point of view, I don't know if it's even necessary. I mean, maybe we can hear from the other lawyers on it.
Would you like me to comment on that? I reviewed what the River Center had proposed, and I thought that with the last version of the design guidelines, the idea of having a flexibility that's inherent in the way that you address a proposed change to a historic building is something that is recognized by the courts as a essential component really of what is the character of design guidelines. They're not like zoning. There's a lot of misunderstanding about that, where zoning has relatively hard and fast rules. You have a setback, you have a height. There's a lot more subjectivity that is just part and parcel of the subject matter. So I thought that the existing guidelines already had been modified sufficiently to provide this flexibility without necessarily looking at it like a loophole. It's more like, there are all many different factors that can be looked at when you are evaluating what someone is proposing, and when they propose alternate materials, for example, that might not be strictly in conformity, but may have valuable reasons why. This particular topic often comes up with slate roofs. Unfortunately, you don't have a lot of them in town. So I thought that what the River Center was asking was in fact duplicative, but when language is placed in a document, it's read as a whole. You don't just pull out one section and make that dominate the entire interpretation. Once the guidelines are adopted and you're looking at projects, you're going to look at the guidelines, you're going to consider them as a whole, not just pulling out one factor versus another. So I thought the change was harmless. Yes, it was a bit duplicative. I thought it was already embodied in changes that had been made by Steve previously. So I don't think it does any harm, but I think if there is going to be a desire to not really do this evening, I would really appreciate it, because I had cataract surgery today, and it's much more bothersome than on the other. So I'm not functioning on all cylinders. So if you're going to put it off, I'll take another look at the whole thing, the whole change that they had. I mean, I thought the language was a little strange. I mean, it's not breathing, but I'm not going to, someone said we're not going to quibble over semantics, and I would agree with that. So I didn't think it really changed anything from what had already been changed.
Yeah, I would appreciate actually not voting tonight as I'm scanning through here. Stephen, I'm noticing some of the addresses are incorrect on the document in the photos. Like the
Oh.
Eisner building on, here you have labeled as 52 Broad Street, it's 54.
Going to, at some point, did we discuss removing those addresses?
Oh, yeah, that's what, I think you had mentioned that. I think
We,
so.
we had discussed removing it in most places.
Residential,
In
Which-
residential.
not for commercial.
Yeah, on the commercial, yeah, I'm noticing some of them are just not accurate.
Right.
I'll go through them, Stephen, and note them.
All right, and you know, and I would be supportive of not voting on it tonight as well. There was one, you know, one observation I had in looking at this second draft, this hopefully near final draft, was scope. There is a page, might be page 10, it's near the front, where there's pictures and there's maps. There's a map of the two historical districts. And the page basically says, this book, up, that's it, on the right-hand side. It basically says at the top, applicability. Now, when I read that, okay, and if I'm an owner of a property that's designated historical, and I have this book, and it says right in the book, it applies to these two districts, and I don't live in one of those two districts, I go to the HPC and say, this doesn't apply to me. So my concern is scope, that we should be thoughtful about what we're saying these guidelines apply to. When we started this, I thought the intent was for this to apply to the two historic districts and all resources in Red Bank, but outside of those districts that are designated historic.
Sure.
True.
That's true.
The other thing we did talk about, and I'll jump ahead to the survey, is that this is not, we felt this was not the be all end all, that we want a mechanism for looking at other places and ways in which we can bring them into the historic process, a little bit less problematic as Irving Place was, but certainly other places that we can find a method by which to decide, approach people, have feedback, and whether and broaden these areas. So I think that is along with what you're saying, yes, to broaden the scope of it. But we talked quite a bit about that of wanting to, the next process we're working on is surveys and wanting to be able to really start looking at other places that we have in mind or that others have in mind. We need a format for doing this, especially given our own history. So, and I know, Anthony, you have.
It never ends.
Yeah.
Michael goes down the rabbit hole too, I think.
Well,
It's just the history rabbit hole of town.
Oh, yes.
It's good.
the format, though, to expand the HPC's purview is the historic preservation plan element of the master plan and subsequent action by your governing body. We could cover the entire town red in this diagram and say that the guidelines are applicable to the entire town and maybe even Shrewsbury. It won't change anything though.
And I didn't read this section as limiting these guidelines to the existing established districts. I just didn't read it in that same context. So, well, if there's anything that would lead to that, but ordinarily, when the guideline is adopted, the enabling clause that's put into the ordinance, whenever I have been involved with them being adopted, it states for the in existing and future historic districts or historic sites. So that clarification needs to be done. That should be simple. I don't think I didn't take the same interpretation, but if there is any possibility of that being interpreted that way, we could certainly clear that up. But when adopted, it is intended to serve you into the future. There's even some sections in here that would, support that. So, and there's going to be work in that regard as well. This was just the next thing on the priority list of tasks to be accomplished.
Michelle, would you just suggest that there just be a little asterisk at the bottom of the page, of that page, to kind of highlight that statement that you just said, just to add that, so to
I
avoid.
wouldn't do it as an asterisk. I would just merge it into the text if you want. We can put it in there, yes, but I wouldn't do it as an asterisk.
Recognize historic districts and sites.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
like that.
Says in
For
future.
existing and
And
future.
Yeah, future.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, looking for the page again,
Yeah.
there is a notes section at the bottom. And right now, there's just a couple of lines of notes. And I think something like, in addition to applying to properties, resources within the historic districts, these guidelines are intended to apply to all
Locally
designated historic resources, including those that are in Red Bank but might not be located in these two districts. Less wordy, but
Yeah.
To reflect.
I think you want to just keep it very simple, that these guidelines are designed to apply to what you have designated and what may become designated in the future. Okay.
Exists in the future.
okay, and I'm fine with that language. I just reading it cold, to look at a picture that says applicability, it only had those two districts highlighted. No other resources or pins on the map. That was my concern.
I understand.
So. Okay, I think we're all on the same page with that. It's
I
just a
do
matter-
too. It's just a matter of clearing
Matter
up
of
the
keeping up.
potential ambiguity.
Yeah. All right.
Would it be okay if I sign off? I had the surgery today was much more impactful than the last time. So if it's okay, if you don't have any other questions of me, I'd like to sign off.
I think what we would plan on is that if you could be present for the next meeting, then that will be the meeting at which we approve this.
That would be perfect. Now, the next meeting I would suspect may fall during the League of Municipalities.
It does, which I was gonna ask later on, if we can switch the date or find another date or do something, because it's gonna be.
I could do the week before, and then the week after, of course, is Thanksgiving, so nobody wants that. But I could do the week before on a Wednesday evening if you'd like. But if you want me to, I just thought of that, but I can make other dates available. So
Ralph, is that
I will let you know. We just have to check with the other meetings
Definitely
that
can't do the week
happen.
after.
okay, give me a list of some options because I do have, I have some other commitments. I'll get back to you right away so that you'll be able to then make sure you have a quorum, and I'll be there in person. I'm just so pleased by all of the excellent acknowledgments that you've received about being such a great town. I always felt that way about Red Bank, so it was well deserved.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks,
Thank
Michelle.
you. Good night,
Talk to you
everyone.
better.
Thank you.
Right.
If I could just add a few things about the upcoming November event. Is that possible at this time?
Yes.
Okay. So on November 13th, which is a Thursday, we'll be having a public outreach event at the library in the basement. This will be in person and also on Zoom. It will be recorded. There is a link to join the Zoom that I'll be hosting, so you'll see the whole screen. It's going to be interactive, and there will be a lot of great diagrams included in that presentation to explain these new design guidelines to your average homeowner, tenant, or architect. And the recording, could end up on the Red Bank website for future reference. So that's Thursday, November 13th. So it would be really great if the HPC is able to accept or adopt the guidelines on Wednesday, November 12th. So what we're presenting to the public on Thursday, the 13th has already been signed off by everybody. That's just a kind of point of convenience. And then,
The 12th is a planning board meeting, unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Those all get canceled.
I don't think you can double book in hopes that one gets canceled, can you?
I have to note, let me just make sure that I don't have an application scheduled for that meeting. Unless you want to have it earlier, have the meeting, because the planning board starts at 7, so unless you want to do 6.
Is this the library? Because I have the 13th, Thursday,
Yes.
the 13th.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, this is for,
She's talking about for the night
November.
before.
yeah, for,
Think about the actual, yeah.
so right now I have nothing scheduled and I don't think anything will be scheduled probably, so
So if we could,
but if you'd like, I can move it.
Yes.
Can we do 6 o'clock
Mhm.
on Wednesday?
I would have no issue with that. As long as Michelle's available at 6.
Okay. I'll send her an email.
Okay.
Just-
And what day is that? The
12th, right? 12th?
Yeah, the 12 at 6.
Yep.
I don't think the meeting would be more than an hour.
Well, this will force it.
I do
Which
have
I'm
one,
okay with.
I do have one application though that I am gonna
Oh,
add
for
to the
the
agenda. No, for this, yeah.
Okay,
It just came in today, so I wasn't able to add it to the agenda.
okay.
if I may, if anyone on the commission present there tonight or not has any comments on the October 1st draft of the design guidelines, I think it would be best if you get those over to Shauna within the next week or so. And that way I'll be able to give you all a final draft incorporating everything prior to that meeting. So everybody has due time to look at it before taking action on it. And then separately, I just wanted to bring this group up to speed on the other side of the project that the committee has been working on, which is an intensive level architectural survey of the Broad Street Historic District, the design overlay area. And I'm not going to go through every single part of this survey because it is quite lengthy. But I'll tell you that we're looking at all of the buildings within the boundary of the locally designated historic district. There's about 150 of them. And we're going to be writing survey reports, which are a couple pages each, on each building, which is a contributing resource to the historic district. So some of you have probably seen the surveys that the county did in the 80s and have kind of subsequently updated since. I'll show you an example of one. This is a survey on the screen here that the county did in 1981. So that's part of my final package, but then there's also going to be about 70 or 75 new surveys of buildings that haven't been previously documented, but are contributing resources to the Broad Street Historic District. So you'll get a picture of every building as it exists today, and then a very detailed architectural description of the existing condition, a brief narrative on its history, when it was built, notable people that owned it, notable businesses there, etc. And then there's also a statement of significance included for each and every building as to why it's contributing. And what the HPC will be able to do with these forms in practicality, in the future, when you receive an application for, let's say, a storefront alteration, you'll be able to go to these forms and first figure out, is this a contributing historic building or not? What did the storefront maybe look like at some point? What's significant about the existing building that needs to be preserved? And that'll make your job easier to reach an informed and impartial decision on future projects. So this is in the works. It has a lot of diagrams, like every Sanborn map that has ever been done, and Red Bank, because there were so many fires, had a lot of Sanborn maps produced. That's all included here. The Wolverton map from 1889 is within here. Maps going all the way back to the 1700s of showing the progression of the Broad Street Historic District, which I had to use to figure out when a lot of these buildings were likely originally constructed. So that's all within here, and I hope to have that all wrapped up sometime by the end of the year. And of course, we'll share it with this whole group once it's done.
It looks like this would be an example, so you're having the description. Send that.
Stephen, sounds amazing. Thank you.
I'll send the draft around.
Mhm.
Any other comments relative to the two projects that Stephen's working on?
I'll just say, I think seeing that this was the right choice of district and focus. That's really exciting. All of that history on the historic
Mhm.
business district.
Yes, yes. It's very clear this is going to be an excellent product.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say my only complaint is we didn't have this 10 years ago.
I mean, it's some
yeah.
You know, looking back now at what,
knowledge we didn't have about certain things. It's just, this can't come soon.
soon enough, so, but let's make sure that we obviously do it the right way, so.
Couldn't agree more. Dublin House,
Um,
Union House,
Yeah.
lost a couple key ones, what they look like.
There's even there's a picture in the guidelines now that
It's not accurate. There's an addition going up on it right across from Red Rock.
Yeah, check
there's a picture on one of these pages
Of.
Yeah, check-in gallery.
I guess that's the one with the,
Like with the industrial windows, yeah. But
time to change it.
I think that concludes all business for this meeting. Any new business to bring up? There's nothing on the agenda. The public appears to have left us.
I think we were too boring for them.
Once they heard.
Betsy's brother counts.
Oh, yeah. He counts.
Gonna give you.
The chair, I see the top of his head.
Doesn't even know what we're talking
And
about.
I see for a computer or.
Minecrafting or whatever.
Minecrafting.
Fast forward 10 years when he's sitting up here.
Oh, yeah, we'll rope it in.
All right then. In that spirit, would anyone like to move for concluding the meeting? No.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you all for letting me
Thank you,
join you
Stephen.
too. Take care.